Ed, what about neck adjustment? I mean, is that something people can do at home?
Definitely, and it's something they should learn, not only for the purposes of setting up their own instrument to their personal preference, but they should be armed with that knowledge whenever they shop for a guitar, because some guitars do not have effective truss rods that will actually change the neck, and they are in the minority. But if you get one of those, it's a real pain in the butt to get the neck right if the truss rod is not affecting the change to the point where you can get it near straight.
Right.
It's in many cases it's hopeless.
Right.
And it's time for a new neck or a new guitar. So it's important to be armed with the knowledge of that, and if salesmen don't want to show you that the truss rod works, then don't buy the guitar. I'll show you how to sight the neck, and I'll show you how to adjust the neck so that you can tell all these things.
Great.
First thing is sighting the neck, because you're going to be adjusting it for what you see. Here's the less efficient method of sighting a neck. It's looking down the side like this, or holding the guitar away from you like this or like this. And the reason that this is inefficient, and it's only good for a rough estimate, is that the neck is not only bowed along this plane here, but the neck is also bowed along this plane. Okay? So it has a bow either like this or like this. What happens is when your eye looks down the side of the neck, it actually can pick up this plane and tell your brain that it's this plane. So it's really an okay method for a rough assessment of where the neck bow is, but it's in the final analysis, it's not the best. The best way is to use the string as a straight edge, because the string is anchored here, strung up under tension, and it is a dead laser straight line in between those 2 points. And when you press it down, it remains a dead straight laser line, and you look for the amount of clearance in between the string and the top of the frets, and that's going to tell you how much bow you have. I do it by holding a light behind the neck like this and looking for the amount of clearance. I hold the guitar in playing position, not on a bench, because if I held it on a bench, the weight of the guitar will cause the neck bow to increase. So if I hold it in playing position, then I'm going to get an accurate read for what I'm going to be using the guitar for, which is in the playing position. Now, I go about this as if I'm setting it up for me. Now, I'm a fairly light player, kind of guy who goes... That's about the extent of my attack for almost all of the music that I play, and I want to set up the guitar for the majority of the music that I play. So, I'm looking at this and I'm going, that feels a little bit high to me. Feels all right down here, but as I get up here, feels a little bit springy for my personal preferences. So I'm going to take and put my finger on the last fret, last string, hold it down to the first fret, and then I'm going to look at the neck. I'm going to go, okay, there's X amount of bow in between the low E string and the top of the fret. In this case, it looks to be about 40 thousandths. From my personal experience with what I need out of a guitar, that's too much bow for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the truss rod wrench in the truss rod slot, and then I'm going to tighten it. Tightening it is moving clockwise as you're looking at the wrench. And it's that way for all guitars I've ever experienced. If you loosen it counterclockwise, you will create more bow in the neck. And if you tighten it, you will create less bow. And if you tighten it excessively, you can cause so much bow that the strings are lying on the frets. We're not going to go there because that doesn't work for anybody's playing style. But anyway, I'm looking at this right now. I'm going, okay, I tighten that and I decrease the bow a little bit, but it's not quite enough for my playing style. So I'm going to go a little bit more. Now this is a pretty meaty neck, so the truss rod's having a little bit hard time moving it. That's not to say there's anything wrong with the neck though, because the meatier necks are generally stronger and take string tension better. It's just that the way that the more massive the neck, the more work the truss rod's going to have to do to move it.
Right.
But the less the neck's going to bow, so the truss rod doesn't really, it kind of all equals out in the end, So now I'm going to be looking at that. I'm going to go, well, I've reduced the neck bow to just about half of what it was, and it still feels like a little stringy to me, so I'm going to go, well, okay, let's tighten it a little bit more. And, okay, there it is. It's right there. That's about where I would want it. And the reason I'm doing this for my own personal preference is to let you know that that's what you adjust the neck for. If you're a guy that plays like this, playing like this hard, you're not going to make that note rattle, even with hardly any bow in the neck and the action down low. If you're a guy who plays like this, you're going to make that note rattle. So as you as a player, your setup is going to involve you creating the amount of bow in the neck that you make the string travel in. Because the string travels in an arc or bow when you hit it. So you hit it here and you go, oh, it's not traveling at all down at the nut and it's not traveling at all down at the bridge, but guess what? Look how wide it travels down here. What's happening there is the string's traveling in a bow. And so what you're trying to do is match the amount of bow in the neck to the amount that you make the string travel in. The amount of bow that you actually put in the string. So, and that's real important to remember in the sense that that's why I can't do as good a job as adjusting a neck for anyone's personal preference as they can once they learn the basic simple skills of the principles of what you're trying to do when you adjust a neck. And I'll look at this, I'll look at the low string, and then as a repairman I'll look at the high string and see if I have a similar amount of bow on the treble side. And if I do, and it's similar, then this is a good neck, and I know it can be worked with. The final check for adjusting the neck is going to be for the player to run his fingers up and down the neck, play each note, and try to find a place where all of the notes buzz or don't buzz equally. So you can use either term. Like if you get a little buzz out of here, you should get the same amount of buzz out of here. And I'm going to play this to illustrate that point. Okay, I'm getting buzz down there. See, it starts to clear up. So what that means is that I don't have enough bow in the neck because the notes down here are traveling in a wide arc, and I do not have a corresponding arc in the neck so that all the notes will be clean. So I'm going to take that truss rod wrench and put it in there and loosen it up a little bit. And then I'm going to give it another test. It's cleaner, but not clean enough. Okay, that's it.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
So and that's for my playing style or how I'm playing these notes right now.
Right.
It would be different from everybody else. The only other purpose for neck adjustments is to compensate for temperature and humidity changes. The more humidity you get in the air, the more wood will swell. It's just like a sponge, picks up humidity. So when it swells, the neck tends to straighten out or get a back bow or reverse bow, sometimes they're called, instead of a bow. Now, conversely, if you have a really low humidity situation, air-conditioned place, everything's in air conditioning all the time where there's hardly any humidity, the neck tends to get more bow in it. So if your guitar has been stored in an environment that is not what you're going to be playing in, then you're probably going to have to compensate, adjust that for what you're going to be playing in. And there's really nothing to be afraid of if you encounter an emergency situation, because all you have to do is take the truss rod cover off, take your truss rod wrench out, loosen the truss rod a little bit, and you're home free, and your gig is going to be not hampered by a buzzing guitar.
Unless you're working with a Stratocaster, then you'd have to actually take the neck off and adjust the truss rod and put the neck back on.
Yes, I think that's a poor part of that guitar's design.
Sure.
A lot of times I notch out a guitar with notch out the pick guard so you can gain access to that truss rod. And some people don't like the aesthetics of that, but I really don't like taking the neck off to adjust the guitar.
Right.
There's a couple of reasons for that. The first is that the number of times you take the screws out of the neck, the more times you take them out of the neck, the more wear you're going to cause in those screw holes, and they're eventually going to strip out.
Right.
And the second thing is that when you take the neck off and you adjust it, and then you put it back on, you're guessing. You're only guessing for how it's going to act underneath string tension.
Right, and on my latest new guitar, the new pick guard they put on with the Ron Ellis pickups doesn't have your carve on it yet, so it would have been very difficult to do that.
That's why that one wasn't used for the purposes of showing the neck adjustment.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so you really got to choose. It's like, what do you want? Do you want the pick guard to look stock, or do you want to be able to adjust the guitar efficiently at a moment's notice?
Right.
To me, I choose the latter.
I would too.